Good afternoon, it's Lee Casper from Tactile Technology, and it's our next step in our 10 steps to a much more secure environment for our small business with our SMESec sessions that we're doing every day at 12:30 for 15 minutes. And again, we're talking security in plain English, not Klingon. So let's bring up where we are so far. So we've actually got to the point where we're actually on the step 4 now, where we're going to talk about managed privileges. But let's just have a recap on what we've covered so far. So last Friday, we talked about information risk regime and looking at all the different places where we've got, information, whether that's customer data, financial data, intellectual property about our business. So there are different places where we store that. That could be in databases, it could be in files, it could be in an application. So we've gone through looking at all that information and all the application we've got, and we've actually come up with then a risk regime to say these are the things that are really important to us that we need to protect. These are things we can get by without. These are the things, if the data got out into the wild, could actually give us some real issues around our reputation as a business. So it gives us that first starting point to understand what our risk is. And then we can prioritise the type of activities we do to protect both our business and the information that's contained within the business. The second thing is looking at our configuration. So if we're developing something from scratch or we're taking some kind of software service delivery model of an application set, or for our internal infrastructure as well, so our desktops, our laptops, our mobile devices, and also our server infrastructure, or even cloud services. Again, we're looking to ensure that that's as secure as possible. We're configured to be secure. Yesterday, we talked about network security, how all the different components that fit together and all the different types of network are secured, from that internet access connected over a wide area network, our local network, so connections to devices that are within the office or to devices with our home office or small office environment, and also the links between them. And we talked about some of the things we need to consider around securing those as well. So today we're going to talk about managed user privileges. And a lot of people don't understand what the terminology means. It's actually down to you as an individual and the logins you have into different types of environments and what level of privilege you have. Are you an administrator? Or are you just a user? What rights do you have and what can you do? One of the key things is on an everyday account, so on your Windows or Mac desktop, you need to have the minimum amount of privileges to be able to do what you need to do day in, day out. You don't want to be a full administrator for everything that you can access across the whole of your user environment, because if you get breached and someone takes control of your machine, they've got your user account, they can use that to do lots of damage. So what we need to do is ensure that you've only got the privileges that you need to do your everyday tasks majority of the time, and then we'll look at how we can actually give you additional privileges if you need them at any point. So one of the key things is not having administrative privileges for your local desktop as a Windows user. You don't need it. To actually be a normal user and work on an everyday basis with the applications that are already installed on there and accessing network devices, so some storage, maybe some shared drives, particular applications. Most of the time, you don't need any additional privileges other than a standard user. Being a standard user then makes it much more difficult for the hackers to come in and take control of your machine and use your privilege level to be able to go and encrypt files and things like that. So it makes it much easier, to keep it more safe if you have lower privileges, for your normal user. But at times, you may need to be able to actually work as an administrator to install something like a local application, or for someone in your IT department or external IT department to come in and actually do that activity. So what we can have is an administrative account that can be used across multiple machines or on a single machine, but it's not used by the user on a day-to-day basis. It's only utilised when you need to install a piece of software or configure that software, and you need to be able to administrator at that point in time to do it. So we only use it when we need to use it. We don't use it for our day-to-day working environment. So again, we're protecting ourselves because we're not actually using that particular user. The other thing about that sort of privileged user, so that administrator for a local machine, or it could be an administrator for your network, or an administrator for your Office 365, Microsoft email and OneDrive environment, you need to also ensure that you're using multi-form factor authentication for that user and a different password. It's pointless having different users, with different privilege levels if you're using the same password for all of them. Because the first thing that someone will do if they find a vulnerability on your machine or some kind of misconfiguration that allows them to access your machine, they'll actually capture your password and they'll try it with your email address on multiple places. So obviously Skype, a variety of other places, just to see if it works. Then what we'll do is maybe look at other combinations of usernames with that same password, to see if it works. So you must never use the same password for all the different accounts that you've got. There must be different passwords. We talked about passwords secure configuration and also network security yesterday. But it's better if you use complex passwords that utilize things like uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters, and a minimum of 8 characters in length. Much better for larger. Also, you can use password managers to do it. I talked about some of them are available, including LastPass, which allows you to actually manage and create these passwords that cannot be guessed. It's very, very difficult for someone to do that. On top of that, then using MFA, so multi-form factor authentication. So, simple as an authenticator, getting a code and putting it in, receiving a text message, put that text message code into something, or even an application that pops up. We utilize that technological duo. So when you log into a particular machine or particular service, it'll actually pop up with the duo app on your phone and say, "Is this you? Can I authorize this?" And you click yes, and off you go. You can do the same thing with your accounting system. So Sage, QuickBooks, Xero. Xero we utilize. So using Xero, we've got the actual multiple factor authentication within the actual application. So we've got a smartphone application for Xero, and again, when you actually go into your account system, you put your username and password in. What it will do is say authenticate, and then it will pop up on your phone to say, "Is this you logging in?" And you say, "Yes, that's me. Authorize," and then you're into your account system. So we really need to manage that user privileges, keep you at the lowest level to be able to do your day-to-day activity. And anything you need to outside of that, you need to use a different account, and that different account must have different credentials, must have a different username and a different password to make sure we keep them separate, so that if our machine is made vulnerable and someone does take control of it, they can't have access to it. So let's talk about a little bit of a scenario then. So you as an end user, you also manage all of the email accounts for your business. So you're a business of say 50 people, you've got your own account, but you also have an administrative account to go in and administer all of the email accounts for people. So if someone was to take control of your machine and get hold of that account, and you had shared the password, they can go then into your Office 365 environment, and they can start doing things like forwarding emails to an account that they can see and access, so that they can actually track lots of emails that go backwards and forwards and find out, like a bit of a pattern of communication, the way that people actually send emails, so the wording that they tend to use in them, the way they actually, title people in the email. Do they use first name, title of a surname, or have they got like a short name for people in there, like a nickname? So looking at that, they can actually get that information, and then because they've got administrative access, they can go into any one of those user accounts, and they can actually create an email and send it that maybe says, "Hey, this bill is really important, needs to be done in the next hour. We're going to be in trouble. It's £45,000 affected this account." And if it's written in such a way as it looks like it's from that particular individual, whether that's managing director or the finance director or someone. And it's also maybe in the thread of an email, so they've actually been watching the communications between two people. The person actually makes payments for bills. They could actually put it into that thread, and that's one of the common ways people do things these days. And with that access, they can actually send that message. The payment will be paid to the account. They normally set it up to automate the process of moving that payment to another account really quickly, so it can't be traced, and that account will be shut down very, very quickly afterwards as well. So, never trace the money, you'll never be able to recover it unless you've got some form of insurance that allows you to recover it that way. So, managed user privileges are really important. When you're looking at larger organizations, so you may have 100 or 200 users, you may have one or two, or even a team of IT people that again are managing all of your infrastructure. So it could be your Office 365 environment, your authentication mechanisms, access to all the applications that you've got within the business, and those IT people will manage that. Again, every day they will have this requirement to actually have their privileges increased. But really, they don't want it all of the time because, again, the threat is if their particular machine is compromised and they can access those privileges, they can do anything. They can write encrypted files, sending emails, anything they need to do across the environment to actually take money from you in some way, shape, or form, but also to hold your ransom in some way as well. So, we've got to be very careful with those users as well. So these IT users, they could be compromised just as easy as normal users, human beings. They can click on a link and it could happen. But what we can actually do with managing user privileges for those type of users, we can actually put a piece in place where they can't increase their own privileges. It has to be done by someone else. So there may be two or four or six people within that IT team. They must speak to one of the other people and say, Fred, can you increase my privileges for our Office 365? Because I need to reconfigure some of the email accounts or add some new email accounts or whatever requirements there. And then there's, I need it for 30 minutes. So when their privilege is increased, it's done by a third party and another person does it, and it's increased for a period of time. And after that period of time, it drops back down to the original privileges, so they can't do that. And again, because it's someone else coming to do it, it means that the hacker can't take control of Bill's machine and then increase his privileges to be able to actually do that. It has to be done by a third party, another member of the team, and it needs to be communicated with them to do that. So it will stop that kind of thing happening. So manage user privileges. Each user must only have the maximum amount of privileges they need to do their normal day operations. They shouldn't have administrative details for their local machine, administrative privileges for Office 365 or other services, including accounting, for the day-to-day operations. They can be elevated to be able to achieve things like installing software, configuration of software, and also the IT users, their privileges can be increased the time they need to do some administrative work, but only for that period of time. And it's better that it's actually a peer relationship, so someone else raises their level so they can actually do the work they need to do, and it automatically is reduced afterwards. This will reduce the vulnerability, really reduce the impact of a hacker taking control of one of the user systems and actually using their privileges to do things. Hopefully that was of interest to you. So tomorrow we're moving on to stage 5, which is user education awareness. So that's again at 12:30 tomorrow for about 15 minutes, sorry, until 12:45. We're going to talk about user education awareness. So please join me tomorrow for another instalment of SMESec, where we talk security in plain English, not Klingon. Thank you very much.